he's staying. Who knows? All that stuff. We definitely learned that. Xander, what did you learn this year as far as the NFL and like the parity? Is there parity in the league now, or is it still the same teams? Like, what did you learn this season? You're muted.
So one thing that I learned is that the AFC is going to be a very competitive conference coming for the next few, probably 5-10 years. Obviously, Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes is going to be the matchup for the conference, but I honestly think Mac Jones and Mac Jones and Joe Burrow, they're going to make their marks on the conference, and hopefully Deshaun Watson comes back and he's back on the Texans. And I think with all the young stars, not even just the quarterbacks, just all the young stars, I think it's going to be a great conference to watch throughout the years. And on the flip side, the NFC is starting to kind of die down for me. I'm seeing a lot of quarterbacks leaving. I'm seeing a lot of quarterbacks unhappy, and I'm seeing a lot of players unhappy with their teams. I mean, there's the Buccaneers. They have to figure out their quarterback situation. I don't know who they're planning on bringing in, but that's going to be a little bit awkward to watch, to see a team that was just in the Super Bowl a few years ago with, obviously the greatest quarterback of all time, and that's going to be a little weird, especially because most of the people who are retiring this season are people that I've watched almost all of my life, like Brady,
Right.
Roethlisberger, those guys. So it's definitely going to be a little bit weird next season, not seeing all of my favorite players, but I'm definitely excited for the future.
Oh yeah, and it's interesting you brought that up about Deshaun Watson, because no one's been talking about him as far as one of the elite quarterbacks in the AFC. But if he comes back and if he's at full strength, he gets on that list of all those quarterbacks, young quarterbacks, elite skills. Definitely. So who knows what it could be. The biggest thing I figured out this year is that obviously we know this is a quarterback league. We've always known it, but I think it's even more evident now than ever because of the way the game is played and the way the game is called and the way these offenses are run. These quarterbacks, they're almost, some of them are almost built like running back. Josh Allen's almost built like a fullback. You got these mobile quarterbacks in the pocket moving around. The whole classic pocket quarterback has just completely changed. And we didn't even talk about Lamar Jackson. We didn't even say Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's another one in the AFC. All these guys. So to me, the way that this league has become quarterback driven is just insane. And it's just proving that if you don't have a quarterback, and even if you have a decent one, if he can't stay healthy, you're not going to compete in this league. And it's clear as simple. And the whole thing today with Kyler Murray, his agent coming out, Kyler's not happy. He wants a contract extension. Well, he hasn't been able to stay healthy. Coach, do you give Kyler the bag, or does Arizona, hesitate on that? What do you think?
I think Kyler Murray is, I don't know. Him and Cliff Kingsbury, they're together. They're intertwined. Mm-hmm. I think he's the only offensive coordinator that can work with Kyler Murray. Also, what people got to realize, man, Kyler Murray, sometimes he acts like a big baby.
Yes.
He did that when he was at A&M. He was like, people don't remember when he was at Texas A&M. Mm-hmm. He didn't like how things went, and he left and went to Oklahoma.
Well, they say he's the greatest high school player in Texas football history.
He won 4 state championships. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
Yeah, I would never, he won 4 state championships. So he's considered, nobody's won 4 state championships in Texas.
Right. But was he a crybaby in high school or no?
Nah, man, that's different.
Right.
When you're in high school, he pretty much kind of got his way anyway. When you talk about Texas football, if you are a state champion, you can kind of do whatever the hell you want to do. They're gonna that's Kyler Murray. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So as long as he shows up on Friday, you'd be surprised at some of the stories that I've heard of people getting out of jail the night before. They stopped the charter bus at the jail, pick the kid up, and go win state. You have stuff like that. It's like what you see in the movies. It's like that down here. But
that's Texas football.
That's Texas football. But I think that's when you look at Kyler Murray, he's like 5'8". Like legitimately, he's 5'8". He can't see over the line, so he has to have a Cliff Kingsbury because there's no one else that runs that type of style of offense.
Right. Yeah, it seems that offensive system seems to be built for him, and for him to come out with that statement today was really interesting. I think our producer Tony is going to join the fold in just a minute here. So whenever Tony wants to pop on, I want to get his take. But Xander, I want to turn to you. Okay, there he is. Okay, we'll come back to you in a second. Hey, Tony, how are you? Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too.
Good to see you. Everything is going well. Tony and I had an interesting conversation off air, which is not for this show, but it was definitely an interesting conversation today. Tony, what's your general takes and overview of this NFL season? Like, what did you learn from this season? What are your your general thoughts of the league this year?
I mean, it's pretty similar to like what we've had for the last few years. As a fan, I want NFL officiating fixed so much. Like, I get it. You're going to have calls that, you're going to miss. Like, they're humans. I know. And I know Coach ain't a big fan because he knows I'm a Cowboys fan. Sometimes I get the wrong end of the shaft when it comes to come to the refs. But in all seriousness, like even throughout most of the games, there's just some bad officiating. Like they need to go back. They need to look at, what the refs need to do in order to fix that. I'm not saying bring back that whole like challenge rule thing where you can challenge and like, oh yeah, you can throw a flag, because that to me was just dumb. I think they said over 90% ended up not getting overturned anyway. So the refs aren't going to take that power out of their own hands. But to me, the NFL officiating needs to get fixed because it's so bad. And I feel like it takes away from the game itself when you do that. And of course, something that I already said that I kept saying the entire time, Aaron Rodgers is not the real deal. He's a choke artist.
We all know that. Coach, did you want to rebut to that statement with the referees?
So Tony, the referees, were they bad in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Wait, what game?
Huh? What game?
Yeah.
Well, the last 4 minutes of the Super Bowl, they were.
The last 4 minutes of the Super Bowl is the big one.
Oh, come on, man.
Like I said, if it's one or two, like I said, they're human. They're going to make mistakes. They can't catch every single call. And I'm not asking them to catch every single call. But you can't, you can't have the Bengals be like, oh yeah, that was pass interference. No, he's just really good coverage on the offensive player. Like you can't be like, no, that's pass interference. Like, come on, man. Like, come on. Like, again, if you miss one or two, it's going to happen. People are going to complain. I get it. But all season, there's just crappy. Actually, the Raiders versus the Bengals, they're just like, oh, whistle dead. Then they're like, oh, crap, that we shouldn't have blown the whistle. Yeah, touchdown Bengals. It's fine. It's touchdown Bengals. Didn't happen. I mean, come on. That's just like stupid stuff.
Yeah, that was definitely an interesting call, Xander, I'm going to go to you real quick on this. The whole Aaron Rodgers saga that happened, last week with his Instagram post, him being on that 12-day cleanse and blah, blah, blah. I mean, we all agree Aaron Rodgers is overrated. We've all talked about that. He's overrated, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, what was your take as a young fan of this game, him being like, one of the older guys in the league? What's your take on the way his behavior, the way he's conducting himself at this point? I mean, what's your take on that?
To me, it's immature. I mean, you're a 36-year-old man. I get that if you're unhappy, but you gotta like tone it down a little bit. You're just going on social. You're turning into like a LeBron. You're just going into social media and people are just getting upset at you, and it's not doing you any good.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly the Packers want to keep him and he wants to leave. So obviously they have to figure out a mutual agreement there. But in terms of the way he's been acting, I just think it's immature. He's a veteran in the league. He's definitely been through a couple of rocky patches, but I've never seen, like, at least for the past 3 years, I've not seen players act like this ever in the last 15. Through the last 15 in the past 3 years, so many players have gone off the rails. Like Antonio Brown, we can name one of them. Aaron Rodgers is sort of starting to, get on my nerves with all his social media stuff, and just a bunch of other guys that Eli Apple, he kind of runs his mouth on social media all the time. It's just, at some point you just got to stop, especially if you're an older guy. And like, I get if you're 22, 23, you want to talk some trash online, but like if you're 36, just try to figure it out with the people that you're trying to figure it out with and get it done.
Right. No, definitely get it done is the key phrase there, because Aaron Rodgers got it done once and that's it. He hasn't gotten it done since. So, I like Tony's face right there when I said that. No doubt. Well, Tony brought me into the next football topic we're going to discuss, and then we'll move off of football. But I want to discuss, referees, the rules. We've seen rules change here and there. There's all this talk about overtime. The Colts are presenting to change the overtime to the owners at the owners meetings next month. So I'll start with you, Tony. Is overtime the one rule you change, or would you change a different rule? Like, what's the one rule you think you change in this league right now?
I don't know if I really have a one rule, and to be honest, I don't even know if I'd really change the overtime, because because if you want to change the overtime, then why not just go ahead and copy like the college rules and like copy how college does it? Because I get it, most of the teams, if they don't get the ball, then it's game over. Well, that's your defense. Like, your defense is a part of that team. Like, you've had technically an hour to stop them from doing whatever they want to do. Like, if I'm a fan, like, don't get me wrong, are there games that we're like, yeah, we want to see this keep going, but to a point, it's going to have to come to an end, and it's either going to end on a bad call or it's going to end on somebody just making a stupid mistake, and is that really going to be worth the actual game itself?
Right.
So to me, if you change the overtime, I don't know how much of a difference it makes, because again, now if you get the ball, whether they score a touchdown or not, okay, if you don't score the ball, then what are people going to do? Oh, well, we should have the ball till we score too. Like, no, just like, if you want to do that, just mirror the college thing. Don't even have an overtime like limit. Just, hey, you score the ball. Can the other team score the ball? Okay, you both scored. All right, now you're both going to do this until the game is over. But as far as an actual changing of a rule, I don't feel like the rules are really bad. I feel like the catching rule is pretty significant. Like, you have to have control of it. You have to have at least 2 feet or a knee or a hip or elbow down. Like I said, just the calls that are made is probably the only thing I think. I feel like the rules are fine.
Right.
But that's just me.
All right. Coach, as a coach, standing on the sideline, watching the game, watching the calls, watching the missed calls, watching the calls that are made, is there one rule that you think would positively change the game?
Nah, to be honest with you, me and Tony used to argue. We go back and forth about these rules, and I'm a big believer in this. And I guess me playing football and growing up, like a coach told me, hey, we can't control. There's 3 things you can't control. You can't control the weather, you can't control the fans, and you can't control the refs. So, like a drop ball, guess what? You hold it tight. A fumble, if it don't come out your hands, it's not a fumble. Like, you as a player, you just got to adapt, because it's human nature, and that's what makes football so good and so a great sport, because people make mistakes. You can make a mistake from dropping the football or getting a penalty called on you, but then the very next play you can make a difference and you can change it. So, to me, it doesn't bother me that much, because I haven't seen really just like one legit rule where you can sit there and say, or it was a play that was so bad that it changed the outcome of the game that counted in the playoffs for me. So I don't know, maybe I'm old school about it. I don't care. Whatever they decide, then that's what you play with.
Right. No, it's interesting. You say that about the rules. I don't know if any of you guys caught the 30 for 30 about the tuck rule that was on ESPN. If you haven't seen it, definitely go check it out. Very, very well done. And they really explained the rule, and eventually that rule was changed and went away. But that a rule like that has changed games. Pass interference rules have changed games. But what is a catch has changed games. The biggest, the what's his name? Megatron, that catch. There was one catch with Michael Irvin had a catch in the playoffs.
Des Bryant.
The Des Bryant ball, exactly. Things like that. Yeah, exactly.
Every
So,
time, man. Every time.
yeah, every time. Well, there was a meme today that says that Jennifer Lopez has more rings in the last 25 years than the Cowboys do. But hey,
Hey, that's fine. You know who else they get another ring in 25 years? Aaron Rodgers.
exactly. What's that? 3 stabs on Aaron Rodgers so far? We
Yeah,
have
it
a
is.
little, got a
I
little
go for
meter
5 a
right
night.
in the corner.
I
There
go
we
for
go.
5 a night.
There you go. There you go. All right, Xander, what do you think? Would you change the overtime rule? Do you think it's been too reactionary because of what happened in the playoffs? Because the percentage, I think, is like 50 or 52% of teams that won the coin toss have won the game on their first possession in overtime. So, what's your take on it?
So I don't think we need to completely change it. As Tony said, we don't need to completely change it, but like I would change it to the overtime for college, just because both teams get a fair chance, and then it's pretty much sudden death after that. Unless if both teams score, let's say it's like a Bills Chiefs game, both teams are high powered offenses. If both teams score, then it's sudden death after that, and that's what you want to see. You don't want to see the Chiefs win the toss and then go all the way downfield and win it like they have in the past.
Right.
So I don't think we need to change the rule or all of the rules, but definitely change the only one. If you score, then the game's over. Definitely give one possession to each team. Other than that, that would really be my take on that.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting, and I lean that way too, only because obviously it's the end of the game, defense is retired. You tend to, your defense tends to get tired. Obviously, if you return a kick like that, if you get like a Devin Hester back there, who Devin Hester should be in the Hall of Fame, and he got screwed this year, but that's a whole other story. Like a Devin Hester returning the opening kickoff, fine, but there definitely should be a possession thing, in my opinion, just for the fairness of the game. I know they're trying to prevent injuries. I know they're trying to keep the game, as short as moving as possible. You don't want to extend the game too long because of television, because of everything. But I definitely believe that, there should be a possession on each side. But my biggest qualm as far as rules go, and I want to see what, coach, being a coach, my thing is I still don't think they've definitively, and we talked about it before, what is a catch? There's still questions on what is a catch, Now, coach, how many times have you had a game where what is a catch has been questioned? I can only imagine it's come up a few times. You're like, that was a catch. It's not, and they're going, and there's no replay in high school, so you just got to depend on the guy on the stripes on the field. So, how do you feel about that rule as far as delineating what is a catch?
And that's the thing, and that's like I said from the beginning. I'm a big believer in if that ball touch your hands, make the catch by any means necessary. Because then now. If you do your job, you take it out of the ref's hands.
Right.
So if the ref said, it's a drop, it's a drop, like a fumble. You could be down on the ground, but if the ref calls it a fumble, there's no point in me arguing with this ref because he's not going to change it. So for me, it's, hey, you got to hold on to the ball no matter what. I don't care. You hold on to the ball and then you hand it back to the referee when it's over with.
But what about when you make the catch? You made the catch, you're falling. You hit the ground, you have possession, and obviously sometimes they'll call it incomplete when you hit the ground and the ball pops out, even though you came down with the ball. See, that's the rule. That's the part of the rule I can't seem to grasp because you're doing the receiving, as they call it, the receiving motion, right? And that type of thing.
The process of the catch.
The process, yes.
Process of the catch. But again, it goes back. It's such a bang bang. Mm-hmm. So like with a referee has it depending on where the spot is. Referee has to watch. Okay, is he inbounds? Where's his feet? Where's his hands? Like, did he make a football move?
Right.
Like all those things go in play, and it just happens. I mean, it's easy as a fan that watch it on a replay or watch it at a certain angle. They say, "Oh no, that was a catch," or "No, that's a drop." Right. So like I said, I'm just a big believer, man. Just hold the ball, just grab it. And just hold it because again, it's the human nature. Because if we sit there and you watch a football game, they can call holding every play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they can call. Like I had to explain to my sister-in-law. She was like, "What's holding? What's not holding?" I said, "When you grab a guy and you have him inside, as long as your feet are moving and he's moving with you, it's not a holding. It's when they show separation from the body." That's when it's called a holding. So it's just there's a lot of things that they can call constantly over and over in a game.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to fumbles and catches and stuff like that and blocking, that's just, I feel like, don't put it in their hands to make the play, make the call.
Right. But there are some refereeing crews, as we've seen throughout NFL, throughout college, throughout high school. There are some crews that'll call more things than others. You know, I mean, we've seen examples of this. So it's like, you know, is it everyone just has a different interpretation of the rule, or
Yes.
some guys are like, just let the kids play, let them play. You know, I mean, where's the balance of that?
But that also, I think even in the NFL have they probably give the coaches, players, hey, this is the statistics of what they call. They call 75% of holding. I mean, there's times even when coaching football, you know the refs.
Right.
Like, so you have conversations, so you know what he's gonna call, and then they know what you're gonna play. Like when I used to coach basketball, when referees know that they were calling our games, they know, okay, this is gonna be a fast-paced game. They know he's gonna be aggressive. So they kind of, I mean, they let you get away with a lot of things because of how you play. So it all goes hand in hand. I guarantee all these NFL refs, you can see the NBA, especially the NBA, they have full-blown conversation with these refs. Like, they know each other. They talk to each other by their first name because you know what kind of ref they are. You know what they're gonna call, because there's some refs you can't say nothing to.
Right.
Just be like this, yes sir, and that's it. Because they got their hands in football. They got their hand on that flag. Waiting, I'm just waiting on you to say something. So I mean, it just all depends on. It just depends on, they're human. That's the beauty of it. Like, so you're gonna get that with any ref, but again, like I said, you're gonna know these refs. You're gonna have a conversation with them. There's been plenty of times. There's refs that come out and tell you like, hey, we're not putting up with this, because the opposite team might say, hey, the DBs like to grab.
Right.
So they'll come over and say, hey, we're not going to allow all that grab, and make sure if it's past 5 yards, don't grab.
Right.
So we just relay it on to our guys like, hey, look, they watching this today.
All right, interesting. Very interesting. I want to just cover this one more little thing, then we're going to take a break. So obviously instant replay has helped either enforce the rules or, you know, to find things that the referees are missing, that type of thing, taking a lot of the human factor out of the game. So let's just go around the table here. Has instant replay helped or hurt the game? We'll start with you, Xander. Has instant replay helped or hurt the game?
I've seen it help and hurt the game. I can't really pinpoint for one of them. I've seen instant replays where I've looked at it and I'm just like, you know, that's a good call, and then they'll reverse the call, and I'll be like, well, why would you reverse the call? That was a good call. And then I've also seen replays where I'm like, that's definitely the right call, and they'll call the right call. But really, it's all about what situation it's in. If it's in the first quarter and you see a big catch and it looks like he's dropped it, sort of, but he's also sort of ran with it. So now they're trying to challenge if it's a fumble. When it gets real confusing like that, then it's sort of hurting it, but also helping it at the same time. But like late game replays, they need to. I think they need to change the rule for challenging that late game, in my opinion. There have been a couple of things that the refs have missed, and you're not able to challenge within 2 minutes of the final of the second quarter and the fourth quarter. So sometimes I see that, but also I've also seen helpful plays like the I can't remember what it was. I think it was like last season. There was a pass interference play that would have been that if it wasn't called and reviewed, it would have been a turnover on downs and the team would have lost the game.
Right.
And they reviewed it and they called the pass interference, and I can't pinpoint the exact game again, but they drove down the field, they won, and it was a good call in my opinion. So I can't really pinpoint, but overall in my experience, it's kind of been helpful.
Right. All right. Coach, what about you? Being a coach, do you think replay hurts or helps the game?
No, I think it's both. Like Xander said. I mean, again, it just depends on who the person that's looking at the play. So they might. It's sometimes like he said, we've seen plays where it's like, oh, that's obvious, and they call it opposite. Even the commentator said, even the guy they hired that used to be a real, he might go opposite and say, I don't understand why they made that call. I mean, I just think it's all just human nature. So it's the risk that you take. Again, you might get it right, you might get it wrong.
All right, what about you, Tony?
Yeah, I'd agree. I do want to say real quick, since you brought it up, Yoel, I would actually make one rule change. I would move the kickoff from the 15 back from the, the 30 to the 15, so we can actually have kickoff returns for touchdowns again, because I feel like we're missing those, because now it's a touchback and everybody starts their own 25. Like, just get rid of the kickoff at that point and start it.
Well, they did that for safety reasons, you know that.
Yeah. But I do agree. I don't think instant replay really helps or hurts. It's one of those, it's 50-50. You'll like Coach said, it's up to interpretation of everybody. What their interpretation of holding might be, or what their interpretation of a catch might be, isn't ever going to be standard. And you can have that with a lot of definitive rules, because obviously with the game of football, we've seen guys make crazy plays, and you're just kind of sitting here like, well, what do we call that? Do we call that a catch? Do we call that was he inbounds? Was he not inbounds? So I don't think it's bad. I do agree with Xander, though. I think that coaches should at least be able to challenge something in the last 2 minutes, because again, it happens. But like Coach said, if you're playing the game, don't let yourself get put in that position where, you have to rely on a call to potentially make the game deciding moment.
Yeah.
No, definitely. I like it. I just think it needs to become a little bit more expedient. I still think it sometimes takes a little too long, but that's been the case in baseball. That's been the case, especially in basketball with the replay. I mean, I understand wanting to correct human error, and I get it, but they definitely have to expedite it. There definitely has to be a time limit where, all right, it's been three minutes. We can't figure it out. Call stands. Let's move on. Don't let these guys. Because I mean, these guys stand around, especially if you're in a cold weather game. You're standing around out in the cold. Cramp up. Injuries can happen. We're trying to prevent injuries and let these guys play. You want to see the stars of the game. Don't let them stand around so much. We're going to take a short break right now. We will be right back, and we're going to turn to the hardwood. We're going to play a little contender or pretender in the National Basketball Association and see who we think at this point, with a quarter of the season left to go, who's going to be there when it's all said and done. We'll be right back.
Get ready. This summer, the Arena League Sports is on ASAP Network. Tune in live on either the Tiki Live or Roku app, as well as your smart home TV.
All right. I want to be that voiceover guy. That was awesome. I haven't seen that ad. That's a great ad. So props to whoever did that ad. That's a great one. All right. So All-Star break happened. We're basically have a quarter of the NBA season left. Obviously, we're not going to say the team from Los Angeles, because who knows, Freddie might pop up if you say it too many times, as we all know. But let's do a little contender or pretender. We're going to go through a list of teams and see if they're a contender for the title or they're a pretender for the title. Let's go out west. Even though Phoenix, Chris Paul is hurt, is Phoenix still a contender? We'll start with you, Coach.
Yes.
Yes. Definitely a contender. Tony, are they a contender still?
Oh, for sure. I mean, really, if you look at the West, I mean, it's them, the Warriors, and really the Grizzlies. I've never trusted Utah, and I've never trusted the Nuggets pretty much past like the first, second round. Like they're great in the regular season, and then they're not able to get it done in any type of a 7-game series. So yeah, to me, the Suns are probably one of the best teams in the West to still beat right now.
Xander, do you agree with that?
Yep, they're definitely contenders.
Definitely contenders. All right. And hopefully, they'll get Chris Paul back in time for the playoffs. Hopefully they can at least keep their 1 or 2 seeds. Let's go over to the East. The number 1 seeded Miami Heat. Can they contend for a title, or are they just a regular season team right now? Let's start with you, Tony.
I don't think so. I think they're one of those. I know Coach is looking at me kind of weird, because I mean the East is one of those, everybody's kind of struggling against each other, and even now there's not really a team in the East other than maybe Chicago that kind of stands out to me that says, yes, I would be afraid of them in the playoffs. Like the Bucks have taken a step back. Obviously, Brooklyn has taken a step back. The 76ers have gotten hot, but again, they're kind of the same way. I don't really trust them in the playoffs. The Heat, they're kind of up and down. So, I mean, to me, I don't think they are.
Okay. Coach.
Yes. Yes.
Coach says yeah.
Yes. I picked them to come out of the East anyway. I just think they have the pedigree. One, they're gonna play defense. Two, they're not selfish, so they're gonna spread the ball. And then the third thing, most important thing is, especially when you talk about playoffs, they have a good coach. He's gonna make halftime adjustments and make better decisions. So I'm riding.
Yes,
I'm riding
on the Heat.
Yes.
Riding with the Heat. All right, Xander. What about you? Heat, yes, or contender or pretender?
Yes, and actually, it's a funny thing. I think the Heat are my favorite for the NBA championship. I've seen what they've been doing this season. They've been great, and I was doing a little bit of research on their games. They've proven that they can. In my opinion, Milwaukee will be the one big problem for them if they have to play them in the championship or in the playoffs. But they've proven that they can beat them at home and in Milwaukee. So I think that the Heat are definitely contenders. Yes.
Yeah, well, I definitely agree with that. Being down here, I see the Heat a lot down here, and they're definitely a contending team. Obviously, the key to that team is staying healthy, and I think Eric Spoelstra, very, very underrated coach. Kind of came up from nowhere. Everyone's like, "Oh, he had LeBron, he won titles," but even though he hasn't won a title without LeBron, he's still a good coach. And I definitely think if this, brought that team to the final in the bubble. It's basically the same team. Obviously, Dragic is now with the Nets, but it's basically the same team. The younger players have come up. If Bam Adebayo stays healthy, I think he's the key to that whole team. Everything seems to run through him. Obviously, Jimmy Butler, his head can stay in the game, but I definitely agree that the Heat are a contender. All right, let's go back to the West. The second place Warriors, 6 games behind Phoenix. But are they still a contender for the title? Let's go start with you, Xander.
Yeah, they are. I mean, it's the Warriors. If everybody stays healthy, there's gonna be some sort of magic in the playoffs. But I think it's a very slim yes for me.
A slim yes. Ooh, interesting. All right, Coach, what about you?
Yes, they have what you call the champion pedigree. They've been there, they've done that, and also keep in mind you're missing 2 guys that are going to be key roles later on. I mean, Green is out still.
Mm-hmm.
And the post player, what's his name? God, dog, they drafted. I can't even think his name. He's out. So right now, the biggest thing for them is just getting healthier and getting better and getting used to playing with each other.
Right.
So,
and it seems like now that Clay's back, it's definitely freeing up Steph more. Clay's taking his shots. They're able to move the ball a little better. I mean, a 6-game deficit is probably be hard to make up, but I don't think home court's going to really matter because it's probably, in my opinion, it'll come down to Phoenix and Golden State. Tony, where are you with Golden State?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I agree because you think about it, really, even before Kevin Durant got there, this was a Warriors team that was built to win a championship. I mean, really, probably your only other big name that you're missing out of that is Andre Iguodala from that first one that they won before KD, and then they just got better when they added him. And really, the thing that we've noticed with the Warriors, as the biggest thing has been injuries. Clay was basically hurt for the last 2 years, so Steph Curry basically carried them last year into the play-in tournament. So I mean, I definitely think they're possible. Like Coach said, they have the championship pedigree. They have 3 guys that they've been together for 10 plus years. They've all worked together. They've all won championships together. If there's any other team that is more than seasoned and able to make a run in the playoffs, it's the Warriors.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, and I think Draymond, playing, if Draymond plays the kind of game that Draymond can and doesn't get himself in trouble, then the Warriors definitely a team to reckon with. All right, let's go to the East for the next couple games. Let's go to the defending champion Milwaukee Bucks. Right now, Milwaukee is in 5th, but only 4 games out of the 1 seed. Coach, we'll start with you. What about Milwaukee? Can Milwaukee contend, or are they kind of a 1-season kind of team? What do you think?
I think it was just 1 season, honestly, truthfully. Greek the Freak is the man. Don't get me wrong, but you lost that dog. He went to Miami. They're the ones that's gonna play defense. So I think that they'll make the playoffs. I think they're done in the second round.
Interesting. All right. Right now they're tied up with Charlotte, so they're interesting. Xander, Milwaukee, contender or pretender?
This was kind of my hardest one on here. I think Milwaukee can contend, but in my opinion, I don't think that. I think they're a pretender. I don't think they're gonna make it out of the East.
Interesting. Okay, Tony, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I still think they're contenders. I don't know how far I would trust them, like in a 7-game series, depending on who they go up against. I think if they were to go up against, uh, even if it was Miami or Chicago, I think they're just going to get beat because they still have Greek the Freak, but they traded one of their 3 best players that helped win them the championship last year. I can't remember off the top of my head who it was. Was it? It wasn't Drew Holiday, was it?
No, I can't remember either. But
It was because it's Giannis, Drew Holiday. Who's the third big man that Milwaukee had that helped him win? That they actually
Chris Middleton.
no,
Yeah,
Middleton's
Chris
DiVincenzo, I think they traded, right? Is that who they traded?
DiVincenzo, yeah, he left.
Yeah.
and I know Chris Middleton, I think, is gone too. So I mean, to me, that's a big thing because obviously that was a piece enough to help help Milwaukee win a championship. And I think it's going to be a lot for Drew and for Giannis to have to answer that basically with just them. So I do think they're still contenders, but it's a very slight yes for me personally.
Okay, yeah, I don't believe in Milwaukee. I think they were just a one season kind of thing. They kind of caught a break with Phoenix having injury issues in the finals. So I definitely think Milwaukee's I don't want to say not saying one and done, but you know what I mean. They'll make the dance, but I don't think they're going to win at the dance. Let's go to the 76ers. The 76ers are interesting, making the trade, getting the beard over there. Coach, 76ers. Does getting pretenders? Yeah, that's how I feel. I want to hear your take first.
I don't care what you say about James Harden. When it gets hard, he sucks. He's a front runner. When everything is good, he's all happy and doing all this little thing. But I think he's a pretender, and I think they just are pretenders. And they like all they do. And I don't trust Doc. Doc is the guy. I don't trust him as a head coach because when you look at it, I mean, let's just be honest. 9 times 10 in the playoffs, it's about coaching and not just stars because your stars gonna get theirs. It's the people around them are they gonna get their shots. I don't trust nothing about the 76ers, and I don't trust Doc. So to me, contender.
All right, Tony, what about you?
Oh yeah, definitely pretenders. I mean, we've seen James Harden. The closest we ever seen James Harden get was when he had CP3, and we know the type of player that CP3 is. And CP3 got hurt in that series against Golden State back in 2018. So I mean, yeah, to me, I don't trust Doc Rivers. There's a reason why he didn't succeed with the Clippers. There's a reason why he hasn't succeeded so far with the 76ers. I don't trust Doc in the playoffs. He's a one-trick type of pony, and I don't see him working.
Yeah, well, Doc definitely had a great big 3 in Boston when he won that championship over there. Xander, you're in Pennsylvania. What's the buzz in Pennsylvania about the Sixers trade? What are they saying in Pennsylvania about the Sixers right now?
Well, obviously, all the Philly Sixers fans are like championship, woo! No, I actually talked to my friend about this today because I saw that the Sixers were on the list, and I'm like, hey, do you think the Sixers can contend? And he was like, no. Being honest with you, as a Sixers fan, no. I know that we got a very good team right now. I mean, Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey, James Harden, Joel Embiid, all those guys are elite talent. Or, well, maybe not Maxey, but most of those guys are elite talent. And you've got the squad, but he says the coaching's not there. And as Tony said, I don't trust Doc. Or I think that was Coach. Coach said, I don't really trust Doc. And I don't either. I saw what happened with the Clippers and when he was with the Clippers and he had a great team there, but he couldn't do anything with it. And so, but bottom line, they're pretenders. They have been for the past couple of years when I've seen them go in. So, yes, they're pretenders.
Yeah, I definitely think they're pretenders. I think, James Harden folds like a cheap suit in the playoffs. He has not proven to me that he's a winner. He has not won at any level. Yeah, he's making money. Yeah, he can make shots. Adam Shine today on Mad Dog Sports Radio was going on and on about how James Harden is bringing it. Now he's with his new team. He looks happy. Yeah, show me in the playoffs. You've got Joel Embiid, who's definitely an MVP candidate, no doubt. One of the best big men in the league right now. But to me, the Sixers team, I don't blame it so much on Doc. I think Harden is going to be the death of this team, if you ask me. As Coach said before, when Harden's not happy, everyone around him is miserable. Which moves us to the Brooklyn Nets. Now, the Brooklyn Nets, to me, are an interesting conversation because when KD's healthy, when Kyrie's on the court, now they've got a good outside shooter in Seth Curry. They got Rodgers coming off the bench. And if Ben Simmons, if they get all those guys on the court at the same time, healthy, Coach, can this Nets team contend?
Yes. To be honest with you, if you look at that team, all it is Golden State all over again for KD.
Mm-hmm.
To a certain degree, even if you say Kyrie has handles, he can create the one-on-ones. Seth Curry can make the shot. Hey, what's his name is Draymond Green, because Draymond Green don't shoot the ball either, but he plays defense. And then you got KD. So I mean, if you really look at them now, they're just pretty much they are the Golden State of the East, my opinion. But again, it goes back to this. They ain't got no coaching, so they're gonna be out there freestyling.
Exactly. They're getting crushed right now by Toronto. I know Steve Nash is also out. He tested positive for COVID. So yeah, they're just out there playing street ball right now. Xander, so if this Nets team is healthy, fully equipped, all those guys on the court, can they win a chip?
I might regret saying it, but no. And it's not because of the guys. I think that they have a championship caliber team. I don't think they have the championship caliber coach. And I'm not taking anything from Steve Nash. He has been a great coach through the regular season. Personally, in my opinion, I just don't think he has what it takes to get it done in the championship. So in my opinion, they're pretenders.
Interesting. Now, Tony, people have been saying, "Oh, look at last year. They were a footstep away from beating Milwaukee, whatever. If Kevin Durant's foot was an inch bigger, he would have hit. There would have been a 3, not a 2, and they would have tied or won. But what's your take on this Nets team?
Yeah, I mean, and it kind of goes back to the whole officiating thing. Ifs and buts. We all know. Shoulda, woulda, coulda type thing. They've had other opportunities, they didn't take it. I kind of agree, but I think the big thing too is this team has to be able to work together. All the talent is there. They have the opportunity, but can they work together and can they make it work? And yeah, can Steve Nash, coach them to that point? Which honestly, I feel like Steve Nash this is more of kind of a players run team. This is more of a KD and Kyrie run team than it is Steve Nash's. He's just kind of there as the figurehead. I will say too, so obviously New York is lifting its mandate for the vaccine. So there's a potential Kyrie can come back for that. However, it is actually still found out that in the private sector for New York, employers are still not allowed to bring employees in if they haven't been vaccinated. So the mayor actually said, well, I want him back, but I can't make one exception considering we've made all these other people do it. We haven't made him do it. So that to me is another big thing. Is Kyrie going to be there or not? They said if the numbers continue to go down into March, there's a maybe. But again, it's going to be on whether or not they lift that or if they don't.
No, exactly. I read that today too, and they were talking about even if they're not going to if they cannot let unvaccinated police and firemen or something like that, they're definitely not going to let a basketball player. So yeah, it's definitely a good take. I mean, on paper, if this Nets team is completely healthy, they, as Coach said, they're probably Golden State of the East this year. But I just you need someone. The inmates can't run the asylum, And they were saying when those Golden State teams, what is Steve Kerr? Steve Kerr played for Phil Jackson. Steve Kerr learned that type of coaching on how to coach guys, but not getting in their face, but how to coach those guys. So I think what Steve Kerr brought to those Warriors teams, that mentality, even though the players, were running and KD was running, but still, I think Steve Nash might need to take a cue from a Steve Kerr. And even though they're both point guards, with good shooting ability, you got to have a little control of your team. All right, let's go out west to my favorite player in the league right now, Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies. Tony, you mentioned Memphis before as one of your 3 teams in the West. Why do you think Memphis can contend right now?
Honestly, it's because of one man, and that's Jay Morant. Like I honestly think that it's mainly him. The fact that the presence, the swagger that he brings to this Grizzlies team, and the fact that they've blown up out of nowhere. Like
Right.
nobody has expected him to be this good. Nobody's expecting him to win the games that they're winning, and with him there, it puts them in contention. Kind of the same thing. Do I see them matching up very well for a full series against an actual healthy Golden State this time? No. But I mean, do I think that if they were to maybe add one more bigger piece, they would be 100%? But right now, I'm going to say no.
No. Okay. Coach, what about you?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
They can't ride with Ja, huh?
No, Ja, don't listen. I will never hate on Ja. To be honest with you, my opinion, I would pick Ja over Zion. I said that from the beginning. I never trusted Zion.
And it's a shame how he's just gone completely downhill, Zion, but that's for another show.
Yeah. One thing, and I think Tony probably heard me say this all the time. When you go back and you look at teams that win the championship, like the average age is 28, 29.
Right.
They're still young. They're not used to they're not, because it's different. And I'm gonna say the same thing about the Bulls. It's different when you go night to night and you play these games. It's kind of like you back in high school, back in college, or whatever. But when the playoffs come, you gotta realize it's only 16 teams playing,
right,
and three playing that night. So everybody's gonna watch your games, and you're gonna get criticized, and you're gonna get the expectation. You're gonna hear fans calling you out. You're gonna hear all this. Now it's what do you do with the pressure? Because when you play a 7-game series, everybody knows what you can and you can't do. So they're gonna make you try to play out of your game. And so that's the question for me is I just don't see it this year. They're getting there, but I don't see the playoffs because that's a whole different beast.
No, definitely. Xander, what about you? You're a man of bold. You're a man of bold predictions on this show.
I am a man of bold predictions, and honestly, I was kind of debating it earlier today. I was like, maybe I should make another one. Maybe I can manifest it. But no, I agree with Coach on this one. They're kind of a young squad right now, and while Ja Morant is an absolute superstar, oh my God, I love watching him. I've loved watching him last season, and this season he has taken an absolute leap forward in his play. But just the rest of the team, I think they need also, as Tony said, I think they need another piece. I think they need another solid piece in there that you're like, okay, yeah, this team could definitely contend. Because right now they could definitely make it past the first round, maybe the second, but and that's a stretch saying the second. Right. But right now, I just don't think that they can contend for the championship. So no, they're pretenders for me.
It's interesting. This Memphis team reminds me a little bit of the Toronto team that won a couple years ago because Toronto team had their one superstar, and then they had good role players all around it. Yes, they ran into a Golden State team that was hurt and had a lot of injuries and all that, but Milwaukee kind of ran into that last year too. But the way this team is run, it kind of reminds me of that kind of team. Like, Ja is almost a Kawhi type of superstar, and there's players that play the roles around it. So, I mean, I would love to see Memphis. I'd love to see them make a conference final. I don't know if they can, but if they end up in the 3-2 slot against Golden State in the semis, that'll be a hell of a series. That's definitely for sure. Before we get to the last team, I want to throw another team in there that I did forget. In fourth place in the East, out of nowhere, is the Cleveland Cavaliers. No one's talking about this young Cleveland team. Now, I'm not sure if they're a contender, but they're definitely going to turn a lot of heads. Coach, I saw your reaction there. What about this Cleveland team?
Man, hey, you want to put them in the Bengals category? Like, hey, you guys are here, but you're going to be out first round. Thank you for coming. Go back to Cleveland. Enjoy the weather.
But this Darius Garland's a baller, man. This kid can play.
Hey, I mean, I'm not knocking it. And it's the same way. I guarantee Tony hear me say that all the time. There's levels. There's regular season, and then that's when you get to the playoffs. Because playoffs is where you make your name. You don't make your name in the regular season. You get notarized in the regular season. But what you do in the playoffs kind of dictate who you are. And I mean, it's a young, good team. Enjoy it while you can.
Exactly. That's definitely an interesting take. All right, we won't spend any more time on Cleveland. Let's talk about the Chicago Bulls. Chicago Bulls are a good team. DeMar DeRozan's having a career year, an MVP kind of year. This team's making a lot of noise and could make a lot of noise come playoff time. So Tony, can our boy Mike, his Bulls, he's all excited. Mike's excited about the Bulls. Are we excited about the Bulls?
I mean, looking at the teams in the East, I mean, you kind of have to be like, they're going to be in there. I think for them, it's kind of the same thing. They're a young team. This is their first year together. I think they'll have something to build off of. Do I think that they have enough to go up against like a Phoenix if they make it into the finals? No, because they don't have the pedigree. They don't really have that experience. Give them a couple years, and I would probably say for sure Chicago is probably going to be your favorite contenders. But this year, no. And the fact that you want to talk about a team that is like always on the COVID list, or at least they were for like 3 months there. They were just, all of them had COVID like all the time, except for DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan is like their literally lone shining star right now. I'm going to say they are contenders, but I would say second round, maybe even the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, DeRozan, he's averaging 28 points a game. His field goal percentage is almost 52%. That is insane. Yeah, absolutely insane. Xander, can this Chicago team if they stay healthy, if they stay focused, can this Chicago team truly compete for a championship?
Yes and no. Chicago, in my opinion, they need to work on their defense. I mean, I've seen some games where they've definitely locked down, but I've also seen some games where they've given up points they've given up shots that are wide open. I'm like, where was the coverage on that? I think yes, if the team stays healthy, they definitely have a shot. But again, I can't really see them contending for the title. I think it would be out of the top 3 teams in the West, I think it would be a very tough time for the Bulls to play a 4-game or 7-game series against, or 4, 5, 6-game series, whatever it is.
Right.
I think it would be a little tougher for them on the Western side. Eastern side, I think they'd have a bit of trouble, but if they get past the Bucks and the Heat, I'm pretty sure I'll start kind of regaining my faith. But for me right now, no, they're pretenders.
They've got a couple interesting games coming up. On Friday, they play at home against Milwaukee. Then Monday, they play the Sixers. And then on March 18th, they have to go out to the desert to play Phoenix. So those are going to be some definite key games. Coach, is this Bulls team for real? Is our boy Mike going to be happy come playoff time?
No. I'm not even going to cuss. No.
That's Mike's job. He does all that for us.
Yeah. I don't care what you say. We can go back and forth. Y'all can say what you want. He start naming all these cats on the Bulls team. Man, look. When have DeMar DeRozan done anything in the playoffs?
Right. Exactly.
We've seen this before when he was in Toronto. And then the second round of the playoffs, he saw LeBron and it was like nowhere to be found.
Right. That's very true. I do remember that. I mean, I like this Bulls team, but I definitely think they're like a year away. I think him and Levine and Lonzo, they've been balling, but they're a year away. They're a year away. They need a little playoff experience, a little seeding to get behind them. Cool. All right. Well, we've got time for our last take here. It could be about anything you want it to be. So let's start with you, Xander. What's your last take of the night?
My last take of the night is actually completely off topic from almost the entire show. It's about hockey, and I'll talk about this more on the podcast coming up Friday. Check that out. It's Between the Pipes on ASAP Sports. So what I want to talk about is the Calder Trophy, which is the Rookie of the Year in the NHL. Mm-hmm. 2 of the 3 top spots are right now taken up by 2 Red Wings players. And for me, being a Detroit Red Wings fan, that's super exciting. And I just want to talk about the defenseman Moritz Seider. watch him. He is going to be a great defenseman coming in the league. He stands very tall, and he's a very stout guy. So like he absorbs hits, and I've seen him give hits and deal hits out. And he's also an assist machine. He's got, I think, 37 assists on the season this year. So I'm excited to watch him, and I think everybody else should be too.
All right, let's check him out. Tony, what's your last take of the night?
Dang, I didn't expect to be here. I completely forgot. Dang it. I will say, I'll be honest. I'm excited for the NBA playoffs. I'm excited for the fact that, I think we're gonna have a bunch of new faces. I think this NBA season has proven, if anything, there's really no strong favorite teams, because we've seen Phoenix start out hot and then they fell a little bit. CP3 is out. Golden State has kind of come back to being Golden State. The team in LA that we won't name is not doing as well as they thought, because they're all stuck in a nursing elderly home. But other than that, I honestly think this NBA playoffs is probably going to be one of the most interesting we've seen in a long time.
I like how you compare the Lakers and put a Harry Potter thing, the one we won't name, together. I do like that.
Yes, it had to be done.
That was really good. All right, Coach, what's your last take of the night?
Man, I thought we was gonna talk about it. Baseball. Man, y'all stay locked out. Nobody cares. Hey, nobody cares about this whole baseball thing. I know you got the baseball peers, but other than that, stay locked out. You don't hurt my feelings. You're losing fans. As long as you guys stay locked out, you're losing fans. I tell people all the time, the boringest sports time is mid-June and July, because guess what? There's no football going on, and basketball just ended, and we're just stuck. So,
see, I'm on the opposite end of it. I'm an old school guy. I loved baseball growing up. My dad and I could talk for hours and hours about baseball, about the history of the sport. My dad grew up as a Brooklyn Dodger fan, and when he left, they were crushed, and he became, like a lot of National League people in New York area, they became Met fans. So that's how we're Met fans in my house. I really hope they can get it together, because they're gonna lose fans. They're gonna lose interest. Right now, they're third, maybe fourth on the list behind football, basketball. I think college football is definitely more popular in this country than baseball. I mean, they might even drop the fifth behind NASCAR. Who knows? Anything's and MMA is up there too, if you think about it. So it's like they're just going to keep dropping down and dropping down. Rob Manfred, to me, is the biggest reason of this lockout. When your commissioner doesn't care enough about the sport. I've been saying this for weeks. Rob Manfred, during the COVID year, made a comment about how the trophy is just a piece of metal. Your commissioner can't say that about the trophy that you're handing out. Oh, it's just a piece of metal. No, these guys have worked their lives to play in the major leagues. They've gone through single A, double A, triple A ball, whatever, pony leagues, whatever it's called. You can't treat the game like it's nothing. Rob Manfred has to go. The players union has a very strong head of it. Manfred is just a weak ass commissioner. Nothing's going to get done. This game is going to be ruined. I mean, they were supposed to today hopefully solve it. Games are going to start to get postponed. It's going to turn people off. People don't want a shorter season. You have millionaires and billionaires fighting. There are guys like us who are just struggling to put two nickels together, out here talking sports, talking about the passions we have. Baseball needs to get it together. You're hurting too many people with this. This is absolutely ridiculous. But I'll tell you how I really feel. All right. Well, that is our time for tonight. I want to thank all you guys for coming, hanging out, all you guys for watching. We'll be back next week with another brand new episode. Who knows what's going to happen during the week? Anything can happen. There's rumors, as I said, the NFL is meeting in March about maybe baseball will be back. Maybe Carson Wentz will be traded. Maybe Aaron Rodgers will go cliff diving. Who knows? I mean, anything is. Tony wants to see that. Anything is possible. So on behalf of all you guys, thank you all so much for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Peace out.
Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're out in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.